Hello, very good evening. Today in Java string lecture, basically we are going to discuss that how we can replace certain characters from within a given string. Okay. In other words, for example, we have a string written hello world, and how we can replace the characters such as ELL with respect to 6 and 99. All right. So wherever there is occurrence of E, we want to replace it with 6. Wherever there is appearance of L character in that string, let's replace it with 9. So for example, this can be used for creating your own custom encryption algorithm or ciphering algorithm, or for whatever purpose you want to use it for. But the trick here is that we are now going to use the replace method. Without using the replace method, which is given within the string class, let's not use that and try to create this method ourselves. So how do we do that? How do we use, or what function should we use within our Java program, and that would allow us to iterate each character of a string and then compare that character with whatever we want to do that. Okay, so the task here is that we go into, for example, in Netbeans. Again, we have been using that previously as well, so let me use that again. I can create a new project, but I already have something set up. So what I'll do is I'll go into string class method and create a new Java class. Okay, and just use it, for example, replace char character, right? This is basically my class name. Click finish, and this will create the class. Now again, we have been talking about Netbeans previously. Again, if you are new to Netbeans, just go into file, create a new project, and you can start working from there. If you already have a project and just want to create one class irrelevant of what previous work has been done, you come inside source package and the string app. This is the main name. Within this basically subfolder, you just right click on name new and create whatever you want to do that. In our case, we don't want to go into JFrame, or we don't want to create an entire JForm. We just want to work with simple string letters. Later on, I will show you how you can do this thing by GUI frame as well. So what I do here is that once we come here, this is basically our string class replace class method. Within this method, we want to create a for example, let's just create this a string my replace method. Okay, and bracket start, bracket close. Now this is basically creating your own custom method within Java. In order to do that, we specified a return type. Means that whenever this function executes, after completing its execution, this method will return a certain value. This method will give an answer. For example, if I ask you a question, what is your name? You give me a reply that this is my name is this. So when you say my name is this, that is the return value. That is the return type. Means your answer is supposed to be my name is your name. Okay, so we are expecting an answer. When I ask you a question, we expect a certain answer. Return type basically means that. So once you create a method, we specify in its syntax that should I expect an answer when this method executes, or should I just specify it as void. By specifying it void, it means that when this method executes, it will not give you an answer. So you just does a task and then that's it. So for example, if I ask you, go to your home and do your homework, so you just go to your home and do your homework, but you don't come back to me and report that whether you have done the homework or not. So there is no reply that whether you have done that task or not. So that means it's a void. So a return type basically do the similar function within Java code. So what we do is here is that I want to create a function, and again, once you do that, you need to specify return type. And I said that once this task completes, it returns a string data type as a answer to me. My replace, we know there's a replace method, but because I'm doing my own custom method, I give it a name, and then I give it to arguments. So in this case, currently there is no argument, but I can specify that let's just take string word as an argument. Okay, what this would basically mean that I am going to use this string word as an input argument. Now word would basically contain the string, for example, hello world, which we can specify here in custom as well if you want to just confirm, right? So this would be basically how the system is going to use this string in form of hello world. Okay, obviously this input would be given by the user coming into the system. However, we will be using this string now to break this string into each character. Okay, so now the logic is basically that we have the string, and what we need to do is that we need to take this string, and as we know that a string is basically consisting of characters, so we need to break this string into characters. Okay, so we can read each character individually. So in this case, we have hello world. We want to read H separately, E separately, L separately, L separately, and OW separately, for example. Then once we have each character separately, we can use the if conditions to check if that character is what we actually need to convert or not. So the logic is quite simple. We need to split this string into separate characters and then evaluate each single character. So how do we do that? In order to solve this problem that we had in mind, right? So in order to solve this problem, that replace each E with a particular character or with a particular number, we need to read each individual character. So the first task would be to split this string into characters, then evaluate the condition, check each character, and then third would be replace wherever the condition is true. Okay. So what we do is we go into our Java, and obviously this is just a test string, so I can just comment that later on. Then what I can do is I can use, for example, string, not a string, in fact, I would use a character, a CHARRA, I think that should do fine, is equals to WORD word dot. Okay. So now again, the idea here is that we need to take this string and break it into each individual character. So in order to do that, the best thing is to use a function called toCharacterArray. Now this is a function that basically splits your string into each individual character. So wherever we need to read a single character or each character of a string, the best function is to take that string, split it into something called a character array. We know array is a collection of similar elements. So what are the similar elements here are? It's characters. So what the string will be basically divided into each single characters within in an array form, if you put it like that way. So we will write toCharacterArray and give a semicolon. What this will do is it will take this string, whatever string is given to us in form of word, and it will split it into a character array and then assign that array back into your form here, right? So that will be assigned back into toCharacterArray. So with this variable will now contain an array of characters that will reside within that particular word string. Very simple. So we achieved our first task. We split this string into character arrays, right? Or in other words, we basically, we come here, we split, and we come here. We basically split the string into characters, individual characters. For example, if you can write. This was our first task. Now the second task is to traverse each string and check that condition. So for that, I think the best thing is we can use the loop. So for that, if loop integer I is equal to, for example, we start with 0, because again every character index starts from a 0, and then I can say I less than CHARR dot LENGTH length. That should give me the length of this array, and then I plus plus, right? And here we go. Okay, sorry, I'm moving my cursors around. Now what this did, we did a loop. The function of loop, we already know what this loop will do is that it will start from 0 index. I has been set to 0, means start from 0. I is less than character dot length. This is character. So whatever the total number of characters is, dot length will actually give me the length of that array, right? So it will tell me how many character length is. I can use the character array dot length, or I can use the string function as well. If you want to use the string function here, you can use, for example, word dot length length, but you have to give the parenthesis. Now this is the function to determine the number of characters in a string. You can use that, or if you are using an array, you can again use dot length without the parenthesis, because this is an inbuilt function for array. Array is not an object, it's not a class type, it's a different functionality. We've been discussing that previously. So this is a function that exists for array to determine the number of elements that exist within an array, but you don't use parentheses with it. That's the only thing that you have to be careful of. So for an array, we don't give parentheses, but if you are using the string method, then you would be using the same length, but with parentheses. Just be careful with that. So now we have a loop that starts from 0 and goes to the number of characters in an array. Simply we apply a condition where we check that this CHARR strings I, right? So traverse each character element within that string, and if that string matches, for example, E, okay, so what we do is then we replace this CHARR is equal to I with, for example, the 6th character, semicolon. As simple as that. and we can specify else if, and I will just copy this string here, Control C, Control V, for example L, and wherever there is L, just replace it with 9. So now what we did here, we did a loop. We know the function of the loop. What will loop do is that it will traverse each element in the character array. But traversing means it will go one by one at each index, read the character element and give it to the system. So in order to do that, we come into this, we use that loop. So within this loop, we use the if statement now. If statement has been used so that we can evaluate the index of that character, or we can evaluate the element that or the value that resides on a particular index in that character array. So what we do is we have a character array that contains the characters of a string. We use a loop I variable to go iterate one by one, okay, and then we evaluate the condition that if that character array is equal to E, then what should happen, okay. So again, we have a character array. First we had a string, we broke that string into a character array. Now means that we have elements of a string in an array form. Then we use the loop so that we can traverse the elements. We use the if condition. We went into each single character element that go to I index. I in this case would be 0. At 0 index, what is the character? Whatever character is at 0 index, is that character equal to E? If the condition is true, fantastic. If it is not, it will go into else. It will check again. Character I is again 0. At 0 index, if the character is same as L, then do what? Condition becomes true. Otherwise, false, just go outside, right? So in this case, we check each element of a character array. We converted a string into array, and now we are traversing each element of a character array, checking whether that character element at 0 index is E. Then next time it becomes 1. Now check at 1, is it equal to E? Then it becomes 2, is it equal to E? Wherever that index becomes equals to E, condition becomes true. Then replace that same element. This is again the key thing. Whenever it finds the E character, we want to replace that E with now a 6. So what we do is we say now that same index character that where we had found E, replace it by 6. So in order to replace it, you just simply need to do is equals to 6. Now I have written 6 here as a basically an character. What this means, now this has been saved as a character. Otherwise, if you write 6 simply here, now it is an integer. If you write it 6 as an integer, this would now basically mean that you are trying to write an integer into a character. It creates a problem, right? So because integer is 4 bytes, character is 2 bytes, and it will not go. So you would have to do casting. We will discuss casting later on. So what this will now do is it will simply go compile wherever the string is there. It will just replace it, and then we can use, for example, within this loop, system dot out dot print, and I don't think I want to use ln in this case, and then I will use charr, right, and then I should do the trick, semicolon. Okay, so print each character as you go along. Now remember, I have not used ln. Ln is for new line. So if you want to print each character on a new line, that's fine, but because I want to print it as a single word, I will do that. So we took a word, we broke that word into a character array. Once we have broken down into a character array, we traverse each character array using a loop. Traverse means going one by one into character array. Then we use the condition, check whether that character or whether each element in that character array is equivalent to E or not. To check each element in the character array, we use this loop, we use character array, the same variable here. I is for the index. Remember, array elements, each element is represented with a particular index number. So we used I is equal to 0 first time. So at a 0 index, whatever the character is it equal to E? Condition true, then replace that character with 6. If it is false, if that I, then again check whether that I is equivalent to L. If it is, use it, otherwise just go by it. Alright, so once we have that, now I think it's giving me one error, I don't know why. I'm missing return statement. Alright. So we have a replace function, it needs to have a return statement. So I say return, and return what? Return what? Okay, so currently let me just use a void because I'm just printing the statements here. So I will delete that. Okay, I will go into using functions later on. So what this will now do is it will create a code for us, and it will replace the occurrence of E with L. Let me just test it here. Public static void main, and I use string A, and here we go. All right, and then in order to use this method, obviously we would need to create the object of this class, replace char. For example, replace character is equal to new replace char character. Now, why we need to use this object? We have discussed that briefly a little bit previously as well. In Java, in order to use a function of your class, you need to have an object. That is why it is considered as a purely object-oriented language. Every time you go into your class, you declare a method, you define the function within that method, the purpose, the code, whatever task you're going to perform, you write it inside a method. Then, so in order to use that method, then you need to create an object of that class. So we created an object of my replace class. In order to create the object, again, you write the class name, variable name, new operator, which tells Java that I'm going to create a new new object, and assign a memory and XYZ for respect to that. This is the call to constructor. We have been talking about this, and we will talk more as we go along. So this what we now do is we use this object dot, and in this class we have a method called my replace method. See, it's there. We use that. We pass it the string. For example, that would be HELLO hello WORLD world, right? And then I just go into this my character class, right click and run this file. If all goes well, it should give me an output down below. Thank you. All right. So now you can see this, that here is the output is, and HELLO WORLD world. It was supposed to be a word, but that word has now been replaced with 6990 WORD word. Okay, as simple as that. I think that's it. Thank you very much for your time. Please, if you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button, click on the bell icon so that you receive new videos. I will be posting more Java lectures as we go along. Thank you for watching. Do leave your feedback and comments down below if you have anything you don't understand, and I will get back to you.